It's your boy Zach Reacts with another reaction, man. And today we got the full P Diddy arrest situation explained, bro. I'm a little late to this situation, but I don't, I don't even want to know, bro. I really don't want to know, but I'm really just doing this because I know people y'all want to know, and y'all might y'all might care about how I feel about it. It really don't matter, bro. We gonna dive straight into this video. Like and subscribe on this video, man, if you don't want to get touched by P Diddy. If you do, then please click off this video.
On Monday, September 16th, 2024, Sean Diddy Combs was arrested by federal agents in New York. An indictment was filed against him, accusing the mogul of some of the most disgusting, heinous crimes that have ever been placed on a hip-hop superstar. The events that later transpired have left us with a bunch of very serious, unanswered questions. Will Diddy spend the rest of his life in jail? Will the public be exposed to the brutal details of these accusations? Will Diddy's longtime collaborators, peers, friends, and staff testify against him? Or will we see Diddy try to bring the rest of the music industry down with him? In this video, we'll unpack everything that we now know, the entire case that's been made against Diddy, and we'll do our best to answer these tough questions. Now, the sequence of events that have transpired over the last couple of days have left Cat Williams' comments that he made in his interview with Shannon Sharpe age like fine wine.
I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no.
Meanwhile, all the old clips of Diddy with different rappers and ball.
50 mil.
Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And that virgin hole I was telling you.
Interview with Shannon Sharpe age like fine wine.
I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no.
Meanwhile, all the old clips of Diddy with different rappers and ball players have aged like milk.
My baby bro, we here. It's time. What you gonna do to that thing, man? Yeah, they better tune in. They better tune in. Let's go.
You know, we studied you since Howard days. I studied the stories that Spoon used to tell me from Howard days, and just how relentless you were. To hear that from you, you know, that there's nobody else that can tell me that where it means more, because you've seen it all, done it all. All my brothers behind me, we're trying to do the same thing, following your footsteps. You know, every night we're out here pounding the pavement, doing what we can do, and we all take care of each other. So it's like you passing the traditions and the hustle on to us. We appreciate it, man, for real.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
And that leads us into the biggest question of this video. Will there be other big names involved in this case that will go down with Diddy?
Yeah, racketeering and sex trafficking. If he gets racketeering and sex trafficking for freak-offs, it will be others involved. Like if you ever ran a train with Diddy, you're probably going to jail. If you ever been butt naked anywhere with Diddy and there was some women around or some men around that he told you were part of the party, you're probably going to jail. If you possibly on any of those tapes, like Envy just said, that they seized from that house,
That's right.
you're probably going to jail when they start throwing that word racketeering around.
Diddy has often been compared to the Jeffrey Epstein of the music industry. Epstein was a powerful man who had a massive island that was used to traffic and abuse individuals under the age of consent. When he was finally convicted of the crimes he committed, it was revealed that a lot of the most powerful people in the world had visited Epstein's island. Epstein was unalived before he could testify, and many people believe that he wasn't responsible for the ending of his own life. It was done by a third party to avoid Epstein testifying and exposing all the powerful people that had been to his island and all the terrible things that they potentially did. To this day, the full list of individuals who had visited the island still has yet to be revealed to the general public. Why this is similar to Diddy is because he obviously threw these massive parties where he invited the most powerful and successful people within the music industry. If any of them were involved in the crimes that Diddy's being accused of, then they'll be exposed and roped into this case and tried they committed. It's not out of the realm of possibilities that some of the biggest names in the industry are also called to testify as a witness and recount the horrible things that they witnessed Diddy do. But what's interesting is that the indictment today really only focuses on one main victim. Many people believe that this victim is Cassie, based on the circumstances described in her civil lawsuit against Diddy from earlier this year. A lot of them line up with what they're accusing Diddy of in this RICO case. This indictment, however, is missing a lot of names, evidence, and events that were mentioned in Lil Rod's lawsuit against Diddy. This federal case is still ongoing, meaning that they could and likely will add more victims to the case. But to take a quick look at the lawsuit Lil Rod filed against Diddy, it's interesting that nothing from it was mentioned in this criminal case. Now, Lil Rod was a producer who worked with Diddy on his latest album. He spent a number of months with Diddy and was exposed and subjected to some horrible things. He was accusing Diddy of partaking in organized crime, and along with Diddy, Lil Rod also named Lucien Grange as one of the members of this criminal organization. Why this is shocking is because Lucien Grange is the CEO of Universal Music Group, the record label that's responsible for releasing probably almost 50% of all major music in the industry. Universal Music Group produced over 30% of the Billboard Hot 100 songs last year. So their CEO being roped into this lawsuit shows that these horrible activities that Diddy is being accused of initiating may have plagued the entire industry. Lil Rod accused Diddy.
And that's so crazy. Because if you didn't hear what the podcaster was just saying, bro, they talking that word racketeering around, and he messing with the whole industry gang. You know, like, do you understand, like, the domino, you know what I'm saying? Like, how this is all bad. I don't know what's going on in this society right now, bro, but this is just bad. And this is why I say I ain't want to watch this video, bro, like, honestly. But we gonna get right back into it, bro.
Of having hidden cameras in almost all of his rooms. He claims Diddy had recordings of Lucien Grange along with many other higher-ups and artists in the music industry. More specifically, the lawsuit states, while living and traveling with Diddy, Lil Rod discovered that Diddy had hidden cameras in every room of his homes. Lil Rod believes that Diddy has recordings of defendants Lucien Charles Grange, Ethiopia Habidamaram, as well as other celebrities, music label executives, politicians, and athletes. Upon information and belief, these individuals were recorded without their knowledge and consent, and as is the case with the homosexual tape of Stevie J that Mr. Combs provided to Lil Rod, Diddy possesses compromising footage of every person that has attended his house parties. Upon information and belief,
and it's like I can't even, like, I know you know when somebody says you can't even look at them the same, or when a person says to somebody else that they can't look at them the same, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know Diddy personally or nothing, bro, but from the way I looked at him before to the way I do now, bro, it just shifted so fast, and it's like a complete disgust. Like, I can't even, like, it's crazy because it's with the whole world too now. You feel me? Like, P Diddy's name isn't like, it's not, it means a whole different meaning. You feel me? Like, that's crazy. And I don't know why all these sick people get famous. Like, I don't understand. I don't know how, or I don't know why. Even I don't know if they sick before they famous, or they get sick as their fame progresses. Like, either way it goes, I don't know why it happens, and people need to stop making them famous, and they fame need to get cut short and not last as long as his did. If that's going on, bro, y'all gotta figure that shit out, bro. For real, bro. People gotta speak up and shit.
Due to this treasure trove of evidence he has in his possession, Diddy believes that he is above the law and is untouchable. Lil Rod also claims that Diddy would constantly force him to record Diddy and sometimes take Rod's phone to record himself. So as a result, Rod has tons of footage on his phone of Diddy, his guests, and his staff engaging in illegal and harassing activity. Remember, this is just what Rod witnessed personally and is accounting for on his own accord. There's no second parties verifying this info. The incriminating footage hasn't been publicly released, and the lawsuit hasn't come to any sort of conclusion just yet. But Rod accuses Diddy of engaging with minors and having footage of multiple big figures in the industry participating in illegal acts. He did, however, include dozens of pictures from his personal cell phone in the lawsuit, including pictures of the actor Cuban Gooding Jr. forcibly touching Lil Rod on Diddy's yacht. This was the same lawsuit that accused Usher and Meek Mill of having relations with Diddy. Again, no conclusion or settlement has been drawn on this lawsuit, but it's interesting that none of the names or incidents mentioned in it are brought up in this criminal case that the U.S. government has just brought on Diddy. Diddy was arrested on Monday, September 16th, 2024, at around 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Right before that, he he was just chilling casually in Central Park. This indictment outlines a massive criminal case against Diddy, accusing him of leading a dangerous criminal organization called the Combs Enterprise. It details how Diddy allegedly used his power and influence in the entertainment.
You can sell this $5 spatula on Amazon and compete with hundreds of other spatula sellers, or you can sell digital products on Amazon and compete with almost no one. You see, I use a brand new Amazon platform that's banned
in the world to commit and cover up serious crimes like trafficking, violence, narcotic distribution, and witness intimidation. The indictment has 3 counts: racketeering conspiracy including trafficking, forced labor, bribery, arson, and obstruction of justice. The indictment claims that for over 15 years, Diddy has created and led this enterprise to enhance his fame, fortune, and control over those around him. He surrounded himself with a network of associates, bodyguards, assistants, and others who helped him carry out illegal activities and protected him from facing consequences. The ultimate goal of this enterprise was to maintain Combs' dominance in the music and entertainment industry by any means necessary, including using threats and violence to silence people who might expose him. One of the central allegations involves events called F-offs, which were wild, erotic, exploitative parties arranged by Diddy. He allegedly coerced women, including erotic workers, to participate in these events, often moving them across state or even international borders. Diddy is accused of controlling these women through intimidation, physical violence, and giving them illegal substances to keep them compliant. On top of that, he secretly recorded the events to blackmail the victims, making sure they stayed silent about what happened. The F-offs described in the indictment are a central part of the case against Diddy, highlighting the extreme and exploitative nature of his alleged criminal enterprise. According to the indictment, these F-offs were private, highly erotic events that were orchestrated by Diddy. They often involved multiple women who were coerced into participating through a mix of intimidation, violence, and manipulation. Combs is accused of using various methods to force women, including commercial erotic workers, into these gatherings. The victims were reportedly not participating by choice, but rather because they feared the repercussions if they refused. Diddy maintained control over them through promises of career opportunities in the entertainment industry or financial support, but also through threats of physical and emotional abuse. In some cases, Diddy used violence to ensure their compliance, and these acts often left the women with injuries that took days or weeks to heal. The women involved believed that they couldn't say no without risking their careers, financial stability, or even their physical safety. Diddy's dominance over them was reinforced by his use of narcotics, including horse tranquilizer, MDMA, and other controlled substances, which were given to the victims during these events to impair their ability to resist or escape. The indictment also details how Diddy kept control over their personal lives, tracking their movements, controlling their appearances, and even monitoring their medical records. A key part of Diddy's strategy to maintain control was the use of secret recordings made during the F-offs. These videos, often containing sensitive and incriminating material, were allegedly used as blackmail to keep the women silent and obedient. Diddy is accused of threatening to release these recordings if any of the women spoke out about what happened or refused to participate in future events. These events were not only damaging to the victims emotionally and physically, but they also became a tool of coercion that allowed Diddy to perpetuate a cycle of exploitation. Women feared speaking out or escaping the situation because they believed that doing so would lead to serious consequences, either through public embarrassment, professional ruin, or physical harm. In summary, the F-offs were exploitative gatherings where Diddy allegedly used a combination of physical violence, psychological manipulation, and controlled substances to force women into sexual acts, all while keeping them in line through the threat of retaliation, including the release of humiliating footage. The indictment paints a picture of Diddy as someone who used brutal methods to maintain control over his victims and associates. He allegedly abused women physically, and his team of enforcers, some of whom carried firearms, helped make sure the victims stayed quiet and compliant. They even allegedly locked some of these women in rooms to recover from injuries, keeping them out of sight until they were healed. When anyone threatened to expose him, Diddy and his associates reportedly used violence or bribery to keep them quiet. This included acts as extreme as kidnapping, arson, and threats of financial ruin or bodily harm. The indictment specifically names one victim of arson in which Diddy blew up the victim's car. From Cassie's lawsuit, we know that this victim was actually Kid Cudi, as she had been in communication with him back in 2011, and out of rage and jealousy, Diddy reacted to this by blowing up his car. The indictment also references what was seized during the raids at Diddy's home in Beverly Hills and Miami back in March. The feds found various F-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. They also seized firearms with defaced serial numbers, meaning that he scratched the tags off these weapons and likely used them to intimidate his victims.
And they seized cases and cases of the kinds of personal lubricant and baby oil that Combs' staff allegedly used to stock hotel rooms for the freak-offs. More than 1,000 bottles altogether. Here are some of the items that we recovered during the searches.
The indictment accuses Combs of running a long-term conspiracy to commit serious crimes, including kidnapping, arson, trafficking, and drug distribution. For instance, Combs allegedly transported women across state lines for commercialized erotic activity and used force, fraud, and coercion to make them engage in commercial erotic acts. He is charged with tampering with witnesses and obstructing justice by bribing people to cover up his crimes. If he's convicted, Diddy would lose millions of dollars in assets, including property and any other profits he made through his illegal activities. Prosecutors also seek to confiscate any assets he tries to hide or transfer to others to evade punishment. Diddy is pleading not guilty to these crimes, and the stakes have never been higher, as these crimes carry a maximum sentence of 25 to life. Diddy's currently locked up awaiting trial, and his lawyers wrote a letter to the judge asking for him to be released from jail while he awaits his trial, and they laid out reasons for why they think Diddy can be trusted to stay out on bond, basically paying money to stay out of jail until his trial. Firstly, they explained that Diddy isn't a flight risk, meaning that he's not likely to run away. When Diddy found out the government was planning to charge him, instead of hiding or fleeing, he left his home in Miami and went to New York, where the investigation was taking place. He even offered to turn himself in voluntarily. Though the government chose to arrest him anyways, Diddy's team says that this shows how trustworthy and cooperative he is. The lawyers also pointed out that Diddy has been working with the investigation for months. He knew for a long time that he might be charged, but he didn't run. One big thing they mentioned is that he started the process of selling his private jet and told the government about it to show that he wasn't planning to use the plane to escape. In addition, after his homes were searched earlier this year, Diddy's lawyers handed over his passport voluntarily, meaning he couldn't leave the country even if he wanted to. This showed again he wasn't trying to flee or escape. Now, Diddy's lawyers are offering a bond package to ensure that he stays put and doesn't break any rules while awaiting trial. This includes a $50 million bond, which is a lot of money, and his family members would also co-sign it, meaning that they would be responsible too if he broke the rules. The bond is secured by the equity in Diddy's Miami mansion, which is worth about $48 million and is completely paid off. He doesn't owe anything on it. His mother's house would also be used as part of the bond. In terms of keeping tabs on Diddy, they propose to be put under house arrest with GPS monitoring, so the court knows where he is at all times. He'd only be allowed to travel to specific places, like New York or Florida, for things like court dates or medical appointments. His lawyers also said they'd give more details about his doctor's visits in a separate sealed letter to the court. And I don't have much experience with criminals, but from rewatching The Sopranos probably about 5 times, this reminds me a lot of when Junior was put under house arrest, and the only way he could conduct business within the mafia was by having other mafia members visit him at his doctor's appointment. Not saying Diddy would do this, but because of the privacy and freedom that Junior got at his doctor's office, began conjuring disabilities and illnesses that he never had before in an attempt to be able to access his doctor's office more frequently. I didn't have any real specific reason to bring that up other than I love The Sopranos, so drop a comment if you do too. And it's interesting because we now might see a lot of new medical issues be exposed of Diddy that we never knew he had before. On top of this, Diddy's entire family has already surrendered their passports, so they couldn't leave the country either. The defense argues that all these actions, handing over passports, selling Diddy's jet, offering a huge bond, and cooperating with the investigation, prove that Diddy is serious about fighting this case in court and won't try to run away. Therefore, he should be released on the terms they've proposed. However, the prosecutors denied his bond, demanding that Diddy stay in jail until trial for several reasons. Firstly, they're afraid that he'll be a flight risk and try to flee the country, and that he will obstruct justice or attempt to intimidate a witness. The prosecutor said that the defendant, Sean Combs, abused victims for decades. He used the vast resources of his company to commit and cover up his crimes. The indictment charges bribery and obstruction of justice. Let me give an example. March 5th, 2015, at the Intercontinental Hotel in LA, disclosed in May of this year. This incident is critical. It is a recorded example of Diddy's use of force. The victim sought to leave an F-off and he assaulted her. When the hotel security was helping the victim leave the hotel, the defendant attempted to bribe the officer with a handful of cash. The guard refused to be bought. The defendant tried to...
That was the video that blew up a couple, I don't know how long ago it was, probably I don't know. But it was a little minute ago. But yeah, that's the video he talking about. If y'all don't remember,
to get the video. The video disappeared from the hotel server. It's not a coincidence. The cover-up continued for another 7 years. There was a civil suit in mid-November 2023 that detailed this assault at the Intercontinental. The defendant denied it, calling it lies. We fast forward to the video being publicized. Then the defendant admitted he was involved in this assault. It is clear you cannot believe him when he denied things. Make no mistake, March 5th is just one example. There are numerous other assaults. Here she was referring to Cassie's lawsuit against Diddy from November of 2023 when she accused him of horrible things, one of them being Diddy assaulting her at the Intercontinental Hotel in 2015. At first, Diddy denied this, but then security footage of that day was released, and then he apologized for it. The prosecutor here is alleging that Diddy tried to bribe the security at the hotel to give him the footage of the assault. The prosecutor continued by saying this F-off activity is core to this case. The risk of danger in this case is acute. There has been spontaneous violence, so it is difficult to craft any conditions for a release. It's this long-standing pattern of abuse. Entirely undeterred witnesses we have interviewed have universally expressed fear. The defendant has contacted witnesses who received grand jury subpoenas. He contacted at least one victim. Before a September 14th statement by Mrs. Harper, the defendant called her 54 times in one day. Some of the way in which the defendant contacts witnesses and victims are meant to evade. He uses intermediaries. The defendant is a wealthy man. It allows him to flee quickly and without detection. His counsel have taken steps to minimize flight risk to set him up for this argument they made today. But back then his incentives were entirely different. He flew to New York 2 weeks ago. He had what appeared to be narcotics found in his hotel last night, pink powder, that have previously tested positive for ecstasy and other drugs. This is a hard-land detention case. His package is woefully inadequate. It only focuses on flight risk. The government has spoken to over 50 witnesses. We have sworn out warrants for cloud accounts. The search has yielded 90 cell phones and 30 other devices, including a surveillance system. The F-offs are corroborated. 300 grand jury subpoenas. The defendant poses a danger to these proceedings through obstruction. He should be detained pending trial. Diddy's lawyer defended him by saying, first, on September 5th, Diddy flew to New York. We could tell an indictment was coming in the fall from our meetings with prosecutors' chiefs. My client flew to New York. I told the prosecutors I'd like to have the opportunity to turn himself in. We got involved in this case in March 2024. We've been doing our own investigation. On March 13th, I reached out to my colleagues at U.S. Attorney's Office and asked to meet. The November 2023 lawsuit seems connected. It got attention. They read the papers. After the raids, we took Mr. Combs' passport on April 1st. After that, anytime he traveled domestically, we told the prosecutors. A trip to graduations in California, another one for whitewater rafting. We wanted to build trust, to surrender. The raids on March 25th were frightening. Lasers pointed at his children. They were marched out of the front of their house with news reporters and helicopters, handcuffed for 2 hours, completely innocent. We did not want that to happen again. Mr. Combs flew to New York to say, "You want me? I know you want me. Here he is." We were worried that he had an airplane. We said, we have to sell it. There's a financial management company that deals with these issues. We're trying. Why are we trying to sell the plane? It's not our first rodeo. The plane, someone else is using it. From LA to Teterboro tonight. Just my luck, I wouldn't have the temerity to come here and ask for freedom if I didn't have the passports. There's one victim in count 2, the trafficking charge. Diddy wrote a long check to someone who he was in a relationship with for 10 years. People got in line for their checks. I had no idea. 12 victims? I didn't know. I'm happy there's only one. We think this case is manageable. Pretrial services says he has a criminal record, but he was acquitted. He is ready to do that again. What is Mr. Combs doing in New York? He's here for treatment and therapy. Mr. Combs is not a perfect person. These toxic relationships were mutual. Now he is trying to be better for the rest of his days. If there's one thing we've seen, we should stand with people who are trying to get help that they need. The lawyer also defended Diddy's abuse against Cassie by saying 2 people were in a hotel room, an issue that Diddy had more than one girlfriend, okay? Victim 1 was looking through his phone and saw that, then hit him in the head with a cell phone and took his clothing, so he comes out in a towel. These 2 were in love. Victim 1 ended up marrying the trainer that Mr. Combs got for her. They had been cheating on each other for years, but she now has 2 kids with the trainer. Years later, she realized she had a good thing with Mr. Combs. She has her lawyer call his lawyer and say she has written a book, but if you want to buy the rights, you'll have the rights for $30 million. We have a recorded conversation. It did not go well for her and the lawyer. November 2023, she sues. When he contacts witnesses, it's not to stop a criminal investigation. It's to not be seen as one. Why is it depicted as a one-sided thing? There's 30 million reasons, $1 a piece. She said, I'm going to write a book and you can buy the rights. Is it a trafficking thing if everyone wants to be there? No. We don't want the federal government in our bedroom. The kidnapping? We spoke to the victim. She didn't use that word to us. One day it may be heard. Mr. Combs employs a security company. Mr. Combs has nothing to do with how firearms are kept in his house. He needs security. In the sections of LA and Miami where he lives in, did they do wrong? Not for us to say. Not his firearm. Mr. Combs is handling this head on. He's become a punching bag. He's built businesses from scratch. His father's life was ended when Diddy was 2 years old. He earned all of it. The defense counsel's rebuttal then commenced by saying, for the record, we are proceeding on a theory of lack of consent, that she was coerced to participate in those erotic acts. The judge decided to keep Diddy in jail. Their closing words were, there has been significant violence and weapons around. Also, coercion of witnesses, even gentle coercion, can be effective. The type of behavior we're talking about happens behind closed doors. I thank your family members for coming, but I cannot release him. Now, Diddy will be appealing today's denial of bail, and Inner City Press is reporting that there'll be another hearing tomorrow on September 18th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's crazy to me that Diddy went from getting a key to New York City just a year ago to a year later being indicted and facing life in jail in that same city. While it's nearly impossible to show any sympathy towards Diddy, I must say that I do feel terrible towards his daughters, especially his two twins, as their mother, Kim Porter, passed away from pneumonia in 2018 at the age of 47. And with Diddy potentially facing life in jail, they may face the rest of their lives without either of their parents. At the same time, they're forced to follow this case along with the rest of the world and bear witness to the
Man, I can't watch this no more, bro. If y'all fuck with that video, man, let me know. I'm not even gonna say fuck with the video, but if y'all are more informed, like and subscribe, man. I don't know what to say about this. P. Diddy, this is only word I have to say is only two words: disturbing and disgusting. All I have to say. Yeah, man. Like, subscribe on this video. Road to 1K, man. Posting a video every single day till I hit that, bro. Other than that, man, don't end up like Diddy. At least we don't have to see him no more either.